Hello, everybody. My name is Tim Rowe. I'm the chair of MassRobotics, and I'll be the master of ceremonies here today. This is kind of falling off. Sorry about that. So we have one more important visitor. Mayor Walsh of City of Boston will be here in a minute or two. I'm just going to tell jokes until then, if that's okay. Maybe I'll use this time just to tell a little bit of the story of MassRobotics. And we were just sharing this with Governor Baker. This was a group of small group of technologists that were in the robotics field and observed that there really wasn't an easy way to get a new robotics startup going. There's a lot of equipment you need, a lot of special expertise, a lot of special supplies that you need, and as an individual company to pull those pieces together is not easy. And they said, what can we do to kind of get together and sort of share some of these things? The sharing economy is a big theme, as you know, in everything these days, and this is really just the sharing economy as applied to creating new robotics companies. If you're one of the founders and you're in the room, you want to raise your hand. So I think you'll be introduced later by our executive director, but thank you for what you did. They reached out to a few of us who've been doing things in sharing. I'm with the Cambridge Innovation Center, and we've been sort of sharing space in other ways, and they asked for some help. We ended up creating a nonprofit, which is what this entity is, there's a number of board members. If you're a board member of MassRobotics, you want to raise your hand, and again, you'll be introduced later. A number of us jumped in, including some of the leaders of the robotics industry in the state. And we went out and we worked with our public partners in the state and the city, and in private foundations and sponsors, and we'll be thanking some of the private sponsors later today, pulled the funds together and created what today is an absolutely incredible platform for startups in the robotics space. I spent a lot of my time traveling around the world. I haven't been to every place in the world, but I'm confident in saying that this is the largest shared space for robotics innovation on the planet. Have yet to see anything like it, and we're just getting started. So I'm just beginning with introductory remarks. Mayor Walsh, please come in. You gave me an opportunity for a longer intro than they usually give me. So I want to kick things off by just introducing two important leaders in the robotics industry in Massachusetts. Colin Engel has become a good friend as a fellow board member at MassRobotics. iRobot, as you know, is probably maybe the best known name in robotics in the world. Colin, you have been one of the real thinkers in how we do this from the beginning. Can you tell us a little more about what you're thinking about MassRobotics?
So I would start off by saying this is iRobot's 30th year. So I've been at this only job I've ever had, a true passion for the last 30 years, and oh my God, how things have changed. When we started, if I wanted a robot to have voice understanding, I had to invent it. If I wanted a robot to have object recognition, we had to invent it. Now, things have gotten a lot easier. An interesting thing happened. iRobot went public in 2005. I want to contrast to where we are today, and I think Tom will say a few words about the VC environment for robotics today, but iRobot had a successful IPO in 2005, and that triggered alarm in some of the Boston area VC firms because they hadn't funded us. And I remember going and meeting with the VCs, and they said, okay, tell us the story again. And we did, and they said, yep, if you walked in today, we wouldn't invest either. So we're in a much different place today, thanks to all of the innovations that have happened in mobile, all the innovations that have happened in the gaming industry, in the wireless communications industry. We truly have a toolkit. We have a technology to create new robots to create value in many, many different ways And again, referencing back to iRobot, we have gone beyond 25 million Roombas sold, and Roombas are now robot vacuum cleaners as a category, about 25% of all money spent on vacuum cleaners today. So here, a toolkit applied to a very pragmatic problem can, in fact, change the world. Another amazing thing happened, because having the toolkit is great, but if there's skepticism and not the consumer demand for your products, that's another huge hurdle. And last year, we witnessed a sea change from, it used to be, if you didn't own Roomba, it was because you didn't believe it could possibly work. There was this huge skepticism that robots were something that were out in the future. Maybe my children will have robots, but we've been promised for robots that can't, for so long it can't possibly be me. In 2019, it flipped aggressively from skepticism to impatience. It went, okay, oh, well, of course I'm never going to vacuum again, but what about dog poop? What about all these other things that robots are supposed to do that they don't do yet? I live in a very pragmatic world of cleaning, so things like this matter. But it's a sea change, and it means that the industry went from fringe to mainstream, and the opportunities represented here in this building are growing in their potential in a profound and rapid fashion. So what we need next is to support organizations like MassRobotics so that peers can get together and share lessons, mentoring can happen so we can learn from people who have been down these roads before, easy access to the tools that Tim described, which are really expensive and small startups just can't get access to them. We're solving those issues, and the amount of money that is flowing into the space makes this a magical moment when the dream of the robots that we were promised as children by the movies and books we read, I believe, will start to rapidly take shape. So this is an exciting time, and MassRobotics is a catalyst for this exciting industry, and I expect great things.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Colin. Next up, I'm going to introduce a representative of a company possibly even better known than iRobot. Ty Brady is one of that initial group of 5 founders of MassRobotics, one of the initial folks who had this idea. He's just about to take a tour of duty on the board, but he represents Amazon Robotics, and we are thrilled that Amazon chose, through an acquisition here in Massachusetts of a Massachusetts-born startup, to put an incredibly large focus on robotics and its technology in the state. So Ty Brady, Chief Technologist, Amazon Robotics.
Oh, there goes that. That's not my business. Wait, what a way to start. Dropping the mic in the beginning, that's awkward. But okay, fine. Well, what a great day to celebrate. Thank you so much. It just warms my heart to see so many people here, so many enthusiastic, warm, friendly faces that are excited as I am about the future of robotics, and I really appreciate being here. And thank you, Governor, for coming, and Mayor, really appreciate you coming as well. I stand here as one of 5 co-founders, including Steve Pascal there. We had some crazy ideas back in the day, and it's just wonderful to see Joyce Sidopoulos over there filming. I see you, Joyce. If you don't know Joyce, I would be surprised because she knows everybody in the community. And did a wonderful job. Daniel Theobald, right there, another co-founder, really great job where we started in the beginning and put our minds together of how we can realize this vision. And Fadi Saad, our other co-founder, who's really a lot of the legs and helped us kind of form the structure. And when we thought of MassRobotics, we thought of the power of community, and community really was the fundamental element of MassRobotics. I see that today, not only when I look out in this amazing robot facility, but I see you here. This is what MassRobotics is about. I see Governor Baker, who continues to embrace a business-friendly approach to our region. It makes a really big difference to us. And it continued support in the technology investment, which I've noticed here. I came to Boston in 1985. I had programming skills in 1985, and to realize dreams that I've had here in Massachusetts, I don't think it's coincidence. I think it's due to the power of community that we have. Mayor Walsh, believing in entrepreneurs, believing in empowering neighborhood innovation districts throughout Boston, that does make a big difference, and we're here in a district that is growing, as you can see with all the construction that we have outside. This is part of the community. My co-founders at MassRobotics created a vision for the many bright minds to come together and create something amazing, not just the physical facility, not just the technology, but create the power of community that we have here. Thank you to Tim Rowe and the entire board of the directors for the steadfast guidance that we've had over the years. It's not easy. It's really not easy. It takes a lot of work to do this. And Tim, right from the beginning, I can remember Steve and I went up to the office like, ding dong, can we see Mr. Tim Rowe, please? Like, who's a couple of robotics dudes? Okay, I'll go see him. And right from the get-go, came out of the gate helping. And Tom Ryden, where's my Tom? Tom Ryden. Amazing determination and grit, makes such a positive difference to all of us. This just would not even be possible without what you've done. So with all of you, what I see is the power of community coupled with a really good idea, which is MassRobotics. So I'm the chief technologist at Amazon Robotics, and we are proud to be part of MassRobotics, and we believe in Massachusetts as well. Since 2011, I got a couple numbers here to share with you. We've invested $3 billion in Massachusetts. This is since 2011, including our customer fulfillment, our cloud infrastructure, our research facilities that we have here, and compensation for our employees. That continues to grow. I do have 200 open jobs in case anyone's looking for that. I'm up here. I'll be happy to take your resumes, gentlemen. That'd be great. I'll be happy to take your resume. Thorough process. We've created more than 4,000 full-time jobs here in Massachusetts, and we continue to hire. We're expanding an even greater presence in Massachusetts. We announced a few months ago a brand new state-of-the-art facility that's going to be in Westboro, Massachusetts, to complement the state-of-the-art facility that we have in North Reading. Believe it or not, we manufacture every single one of the robots. We actually manufacture those right here in Massachusetts. We're really, really proud of that. We have a depth of talent here in Massachusetts, and the state is just been really, really great in terms of investing in education in robotics to help support our growth. So education and the technology investments are great. We're really proud. I'm a really proud Massachusetts person for sure. I came to school here. I did all my education here. I met my wife here. I'm raising my kids here. They were born here. I have the best job in the world here with Amazon Robotics. I love what I do every day, and to see something like MassRobotics come that's from an idea that has the right fertile ground for community really makes a difference, and for me personally is a great journey. But I just want to go to the beginning just for a second, because it really is about the robots are cool, and you will see amazing technology throughout the halls, and you can see amazing technology throughout the state, but it's all about the people and the connection to one another, and people need resources to create. People need each other to take what's just the twinkle of an eye, like I have this idea, and to turn it into all of this, right? And as we enter into this new golden age of robotics, I believe in the power of community. Our community is strong, and it's filled with bright, wonderful people that we have here, like you, that share our common vision that robots will extend human capability to make the world a better place. I believe that in my heart, and I believe that that's what we will realize. So welcome to the hub of the robotics universe. Welcome to MassRobotics. Thank you.
I will attest, because I've personally seen it. Ty has brought Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos into the state, showed him around, really connected him here, amplified in his mind what Massachusetts is doing. Thank you for being, and we had some great cocktails. Thank you for being such a great representative of the state. It's my distinct pleasure now to introduce the mayor of the city of Boston, in which we now sit. Mayor Walsh has continued Boston's long and important tradition as an innovation city. Those who don't know the history of innovation in this town should understand that this is the original innovation city. Some of the most important innovations in history started here. If we think back to the major telecommunications innovations of all time, the telephone was developed right over on Court Street, 109 Court Street by Alexander Graham Bell. I think the other end of that line was, and that first phone call was somewhere in Cambridge. I think that's a town, nearby somewhere. Yeah. The computer and the internet were both invented in this area, actually nearby Boston in the state of Massachusetts. This is an incredibly, incredibly innovative area. And so it's not any surprise that the world's largest innovation hub for robotics is here. We're all eager to hear from you, Mayor Walsh, about your thoughts about Boston and how this connects to its future.
Thank you. This is a pretty exciting day here. I didn't realize the crowd was so big. Thank you. I want to just first of all thank Ty and. I think there's an Amazon factory at my house. Every day I go home, there's something else. There's swooshes there on my front porch. And then on the second floor of my house, Jim keeps my house clean. I named my little robot Jim, and I want to thank you. To Tim and to Tom and the governor and all the folks that are here today. Thank you for being here. I see our city of Boston has a big presence, particularly our mechanics, and so many other folks. Thank you very much for all that you do. And it's great to see such a big crowd. The MassRobotics is a great Boston story, and I want to thank also John Barrows. I remember when John first came to me and said, this is a big deal. And I was just sitting here looking at the companies on the board, and I was thinking about the innovations here, and I thought about the importance, and I was just sitting there thinking, like, imagine if we didn't work this out in here. And where we'd be saying, oh, we lost another great opportunity. And I'm fortunate, I'm glad, I don't know if John's here, but I want to thank you, John, for pushing this in our office. In 2015, we invited MassRobotics to locate in Boston. We saw an incredible opportunity in John and our Office of Economic Development, which was basically a brand new entity at that point, saw the tremendous opportunity for what could happen here. In 2017, we opened. We supported the state partnership expansion, and it's clear now that, as I said earlier, we made the right decision. Working with the state, you talked about the governor, and it's so true. I mean, when you think about the way we operate, trying to be innovative and thinking of different ways of delivering services and different ways of thinking about the future of technology, quite honestly, is so important. MassRobotics is doing some great things in our city. They're certainly nurturing our local talent and attracting innovators from all around the world and to bring their talent here. I've been speaking a lot in the last couple of days at different events and talking to young people, and when I became the mayor in 2014, one of the things that we wanted to do in the city of Boston, which always hadn't happened, people would come to school here, they'd get educated here, and then they'd leave and go to New York, or they'd go to Silicon Valley, or they'd go somewhere else, and they weren't establishing themselves here in the city of Boston. And my first chief of staff, he went to Harvard Business School, and I remember being over at Harvard Business School and talking to the dean over there, and I asked, what's the percentage of students that graduate HBS and stay in Boston? And at the time, it was something like 5%. And I thought to myself, here we have all this incredible brain power that's coming to our state and our area and our region to get educated, and they're taking that other places. And how do we change that? How do we change that mentality? And what it was about bringing people together, and bringing great companies together, and bringing great startups together, and saying that we're willing to be that kind of, I don't know if test tube is the right way to use it anymore, but that incubator, if you will. Incubator is a new word. Incubator for talent, and keeping that incubator here, creating new opportunities so people can create tools that can change the world. This is how we're leading America forward. Last week I had the chance to go out to the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the winter meeting in Washington, and I was in a conversation about the stage, the future of our work, and what does that mean for our cities all across America. It was a big topic wherever policymakers get together, but we were talking about, are we prepared as cities to really think about continuing into the 21st century? Are we making sure that our young people are prepared, especially for our changing economy? This industry helps us see that future. That's why we've supported the development of autonomous vehicles in this neighborhood here. That's why we've embraced MassRobotics. And that's why we need to stay engaged with everyone in this field and continue to grow here in Massachusetts, in Boston and Massachusetts. For me, it's about how do we give our young people in our city the tools and the passion, the platforms for them to be successful. There's a lot of conversations about our education system and what's happening, and we talked about creating our young people on a pathway to success, or a pathway to a career, a pathway to college. And not everyone takes that same path. I certainly didn't. Most of us, a lot of us in this room didn't. But how do we make sure we create opportunities for our kids? I want to thank you for your work in the Boston Public Schools, particularly in the Dearborn STEM Academy. A school that we opened in Roxbury is the first new high school in the city of Boston over 30 years. It's a STEM academy. It's in the heart of Roxbury. And it's not just the building and teaching going on, it's also making partnerships and how do we make sure that our young people get exposed to the future economy. In the John D. O'Brien High School, making sure that the young people in the John D. O'Brien have access as well and exposed to the same culture and same opportunities. And for our K-5 right now, the Harvard Kent in Charlestown, making sure that our young people have those opportunities, and also the Warren Prescott and other schools that we have in the city of Boston, but those 3 schools in particular. I want to thank you for reaching out to those schools. You're creating opportunities for kids that might not ever have the chance. You know, I talked about this today. When I was growing up, all my father wanted me to do was to have a job that had a suit and tie on and a business card. And he was a construction worker. He got dirty. He got half of that. True.
No business card.
We don't want them. But you know, that's what he envisioned. The kids that you're helping, the kids that all of you are touching every single day, they have no idea the potential opportunities to go work for some of the great companies on the board behind me. And I want to thank you for that potential opportunity, for opening up their opportunities for that. This is something I ask employers all the time. You never know the kind of spark that you're going to light when you talk to a young person. You have no idea the opportunity. You have no idea the opportunity. It could literally be something that changes a young person's future forever. It shows that their city is behind them and cheering for them to be successful. And now is the time for us to continue to do that. We're moving forward together in Boston, and that's the spirit of work that's happening in this very building. When you think about what's happening in this building, this space, several years ago, was an empty space. Think about that. I was thinking about this building when I first became the mayor. This was an empty space. It was basically a warehouse, is what it was. And we're like, what do we fill in here? And in the past, what we would have put in here is maybe a sign shop, or maybe a storage area, a storage facility, not something that's literally going to change the future for so many people in so many different ways. MassRobotics was created as a collective resource. It's a place where smart people develop practical tools so they can move humanity forward. That's a classic Boston idea, and it's needed in the age of technology. I'm not surprised that this facility is successful. It already has a big impact, and it's going to have more of an impact as we move forward in years to come. I only ask the inventors here one more thing. If you're designing a robot that speaks, we want you to make sure that it has a Boston accent. Okay? And we can have a translator in there. I spoke in Washington the other day, and I gave this great speech, I thought, and everyone kind of looked at me with this kind of look on their face, and the mayor of, one of the mayors of the town of Michigan got up there and said, "Mr. Mayor, no one understood what you said." So, but I want to just congratulate you. Today's a big day. I know that, and I want to thank all the people in this room for your support. As I look around, I could name the whole room on the things that you do. Thank you for what you do every single day. It is about our future, and we have to continue to set the world and continue to lead the change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Walsh. Both the City of Boston and the state of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have been visionary in their support for innovation for a very long time, as I mentioned. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has, in particular, been very smart about some of the bets it's made supporting individual industries in an intelligent way. MassRobotics is a great example of that. A prior example is Lab Central, which is doing something similar in the life sciences, has been wildly successful. These are nonprofit entities bringing together people, Mass Challenge, and a few more to come, I should say, bringing people together under the same roof so they can work together, create community. We are fortunate in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to have the most popular governor in the United States of America, and we're very fortunate in this room to have that person right here to speak with us. Thank you very much, Charlie.
So let's go all the way back. The people who are here to begin with, they created a country. They created a country. That's how far back that sense of thinking differently goes. And along the way, you know, some of the greatest sailing ships, most important fishing vessels, also created, all the way up the coast, the North Shore, all the way up to Newburyport. And this has always been a part of the world and a part of the country that's lived on its wits. Time and time again, it's reinvented itself and gone through one evolution after another with respect to whatever the next opportunity to apply new knowledge and new tools might be. And, you know, when I look at this, I went to Analog Devices' 50th anniversary party in Massachusetts about 3 or 4 years ago. Many of these companies are a lot newer than that, but the simple truth is, people have been playing on the edge in Massachusetts as far back as you can remember. A friend of mine said to me one time, you know, what you really want to do is you want to create 2 great research institutions and then wait a couple of 100 years. Just kind of an interesting idea. But the point about all of that is that knowledge at the end of the day, and especially these days, creates possibility and opportunity. And when I travel around the Commonwealth, I visit a lot of different companies that make a lot of different things. And one of the things they all have in common these days is they have some sort of robotic infrastructure. They have some kind of machine that's doing something that they're able to leverage so that they can do more and compete. And this is literally at almost every level. And I'll give you sort of a really interesting example from last Friday. I went up to Greater Lawrence Vocational High School last Friday to promote this idea of creating 3-shift career technical institutes where VocTech kids are going to school during the school day. Kids from the nearby high schools who don't have access to a vocational education come in the afternoon, and then they do programming at night for adults who want to do a career change or develop a skill and see if they can move up the job ladder. And they're actually doing it. They're doing it on a bootstrap because they're very creative. But this is an idea that we're going to see if we can't sort of use to transform the way a lot of this stuff works. So I'm walking around the machine shop, which was one of many vocational schools that have benefited from about a $75 million investment we've made over the past 4 years in upgrading and digitizing a lot of the equipment that these schools used to have. So they're playing literally with 21st century stuff. And I met a young guy, Latino, junior in high school, who was literally writing code as I was standing there on this thing that was being machined in this giant piece of equipment. And I said, well, how long have you been doing this? And he said, since I was 7. So writing code? He said, no, my dad is a machinist back in the Dominican Republic. And so I used to do it with him. He still does it the old-fashioned way. But I did it with him when I was a kid. And I said, well, have you sent pictures to him of the kind of stuff you're working on here? And he said, yeah. He said, my dad can't believe the kind of equipment I have access to. And I told that story, and that kid had 3 employers who bolted right for him as soon as I finished telling the story. And I think the thing that people don't appreciate or always understand about this, these kinds of capabilities don't just make robotics companies strong. They make all kinds of companies strong. I mean, one of the reasons we created an M2I2, which was built around advanced manufacturing and robotics, and sits somewhere over in Carolyn Kirk's shop at the Mass Technology Collaborative, was so we could invest alongside the federal government and the private sector and nonprofits and organizations that were going to create different ways of solving problems, building products, creating jobs. And this whole notion that there's high tech and then something else over here, no. At the end of the day, these sorts of things make other kinds of organizations successful. Because the one thing I've seen in every one of these companies I've wandered around and visited over the past few years is a whole bunch of people who are working and who are pretty happy about the living they're making and the possibilities for them as those companies continue to grow and succeed. These are These are the tools of the future on which people can build great lives and great communities and great companies. And that's a big piece of what we should always remember about this. And that's why for us, when we had the chance to partner with the city and with sort of the gang of five here, we jumped on it because we think this is truly a great opportunity, not just to create great companies and a great community and great tools and all the rest, which it will, but because this will also help other organizations either get great, become great, or stay great. And it gives us a chance to leverage the single biggest thing we've always had that's our greatest competitive advantage, which is our people. And for us, I can't tell you how pleased we are to be part of this, how excited we are about where this can go and what it can mean to the future of the Commonwealth. And to Mayor, I would just say again, this is another example of, there may be plenty of parts of the world where nobody in public life ever gets along or ever wants to give anybody else a win or ever wants to solve a problem, but we have always had no trouble finding a way to work with the mayor and his team on great ideas and great opportunities and public-private partnerships. And this is a perfect example of all of the above. And we are really thrilled to be here today with all of you to celebrate this ribbon cutting and to just imagine all the opportunity and possibility that's going to come pouring out of this place over the course of the next 4, 5, 10 years. It's a really great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Baker. So I'm now pleased to introduce our final, I believe, speaker, the person who's really led this team and done almost all the work that turned into what you see here, at least at the helm, Tom Ryden, Executive Director of MassRobotics.
So thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's great to see the level of support that we have as an organization. I'm also realize, you know, they often say that you shouldn't be the last speaker before a cocktail hour. I'm the last speaker before you see some of the most exciting robots in the world. And so I will try to keep my comments really brief. It was 2015 when the Gang of Five got together. Tom Hopcroft and Mass TLC were really key in making that connection and getting that group together to form this idea. And it's amazing how far we've come in the few years that we've been here. In 2017, we opened up on the 5th floor. We had one company that had signed up, American Robotics. They have since graduated, and when we say graduate, that means they've moved out and moved on into bigger things, along with 3 other companies, Real Time Robotics, Square Robot, and Autonodyne. Together, those 4 companies employ 120 people in the state, from startup capability to now, which is just truly amazing. And we're blessed to have another 40 some odd companies here ready to take that next step. And we hope that they will continue to grow with the support from everybody here. I want to tell a quick story. We're kind of known around the world globally as really the center of robotics. And therefore we get a lot of tours that come through. A lot of these delegations from, we had countries represented from Denmark, Singapore, Netherlands, Sweden, Japan. They come through to see. And they often ask, the same question they ask is, why is Massachusetts the best and most innovative state in the country? And from our perspective, there are 4 things that we talk about. And we talk about the number of universities and colleges and a talent that they provide, the robotic talent. Whether it's UMass Lowell and their Nerve Center, WPI and their undergraduate robotics program, Harvard, MIT, Northeastern, all have amazing robotics programs, and we work with them all. And they get that. They understand that. And we talk about infrastructure and the fact that we have investors and VCs that are willing to help fund these startups. And we have the lawyers and accountants and everything else that the startups need to get going. And they understand that, and they get that. And then I say we have incredible government and local support. And whether it is Mass DOT and New Urban Mechanics getting together an autonomous vehicle working group, or whether it's Mass Tech Collaborative and their really innovative internship program, which a large number of our startups make use of, there's incredible support throughout the government. And then most of these delegations are from governments, and they get that, they understand that. And the 4th thing we talk about is community. We have such an engaging and enriched robotics community here in the state. And I talk about that, and they get that, and they say they get that, but I don't think they really do. I don't think they understand what it means to be part of the community and how giving the community is. And I'll give an example. About 3 years ago, we were invited to take some space at part of Hub Week, which was on City Hall Plaza, and they said, hey, can you make use of this space? And of course, we jumped up and said, absolutely, we'll do something. And I turned to Joyce and I said, okay, now what? What do we do? So we came up with this idea of robot block party. And I said, well, it's on a Sunday, and all of our startups, usually they work 6 days a week, possibly 7, so it's hard for them to give up a day. This is for the public, so you're not going to be selling to any customers. How do we get these companies to come? And they came. And they came, and it was an incredible success. And last year, through the help again of Mass Tech Collaborative, we hosted our 3rd annual robotic block party down here in the Seaport. And over 2,000 students, families got to see the future, got to see some of the really innovative robotics programs that are being developed here. And that's what we have in this community, and I just don't think you find that community anywhere else. So we're very blessed to be part of that. We're very blessed to contribute to that, and thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank some individual companies as we go through. This is, of course, our opening of our brand new space. So I want to thank the Silvermans for our architect firm. They took our babblings of ideas and turned it into this wonderful space that you will see. I want to thank John Tachi and the Tachi Building Corporation, who took their ideas and said, okay, we can build this, and turned it into reality, which is sometimes harder than it seems, by the way. So I give a lot of thanks to those two folks. And because we're MassRobotics, we of course used some robots in building this space. So I want to thank David Askey from Ascend, who donated lent their wall painting robot, and Ted Ackworth from Artaic, who did the incredibly beautiful mosaic that you see in the lobby. Again, robotics helped assemble that. So we have great talent. We have great companies. We couldn't do it without the support of our corporate partners. As the governor mentioned, this is a true public-private partnership. MassWorks, the city of Boston, helped us get that, and we worked very closely with John Barros and his staff, and they were very supportive. And the state contributed, and we shared, and that money that we gained came from the corporate partners that are listed here. And we have 35 corporate partners. I can't mention them all. I will highlight just 3 just to give you a sense. First, Analog Devices out of Norwood, Mass. They are, and you will see the Analog Devices Electronics Labs, which they helped fund. MITRE Corporation, for those of you who don't know MITRE, they're a FFRDC, federally funded research and development center with a large campus up in Bedford. They have provided great connections to the federal government, which is still one of the largest customers of robotics. In addition, they've provided a lot of the collaborative tools that you will see in some of the conference rooms and screens and so forth. So they've been a great partner. And third is Harmonic Drive. Most of you probably don't know Harmonic Drive. They make really critical gears that are used in most of the robots you'll see out there. They have been an early sponsor. They came on board when this was kind of just a vision, and they've been very supportive throughout. I will say that their CEO is not here today. They are doing their ribbon cutting tomorrow. They're opening a 100,000 square foot building up in Beverly. So they've been growing as well. And they are, they help fund this lab right here, which is the Industrial Automation Lab, and you'll see that on the tour. So again, thank you for those corporate partners. Thank you for our board, who are almost all here. Daniel Roos from MIT is not, and CA Webb. But Tom and Daniel and Colin and soon to be Ty and of course Tim. Tim and his work at CIC has provided great guidance for us to be successful, and it's been a pleasure to work with them. And then finally, our staff, which is truly amazing. Joyce, who does all the heavy lifting. Brady, who has actually brought in all the money. Yay! Which is no easy task, Russell, who I don't see, Robo Russ, who makes all the robots and everything hum. And then finally, Khalif Mitchell. STEM is a critically important thing of what we do. If you have never had a chance, I encourage you to, and we'll let you know opportunities. Khalif runs an unbelievable STEM program. He is so great with the kids. They love what he does. He gets an opportunity to show them some of the neat tools and get them excited about the technology. And so we're just blessed to have him and Russell and all our staff. So thank you very much.
So far, so good, Tom. Bated breath, looking great. What are you doing? Is this going to come right in?
Live demos are never.
No, what's going on here? Come on. All right. All right.
Excellent.
Keep it going. Keep going.
Coming in.
Oh, not too high. There we go.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Oops. This is when the film.
Yeah. And what, is that good? No, I got a smile. It's a smile.
All right. Everybody. Good.
There you go. All right, here you go.
1, 2, 3.
All right. Ribbons cut.